What up, people? Y'all have been here? Y'all have been here. Hit the comment, if you up in here. Let me pull one of my joints out. Judas and the Messiah. Ah, shit. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. There we go. Done drop my damn weed. Am I in the right one? Am I in the one that I set up for the? Is this the right live? Is this live, or is this the one that I had set up for the queue? Cause it was my first time doing the schedule and show in advance on my phone. Usually, if I do a show in advance, it's on my computer. So, am I on the link that you guys clicked on when I originally put the thumbnail up? Is that the link we on? Okay, cool. This is okay. Cool. Judas and the Messiah. Okay. All right. Cool. We in the right stream. All right. Cool. Because there's a lot of lessons to be learned in life. What I'm going to do today is tie in what's going on in the NBA, what goes on in life and politics, and also what's going on in Twitter Spaces. All this arguing and fighting and shit. You know? Something about weed. You could drop your shit on the ground, so kind of shit on the ground. You gonna pick that motherfucker up and smoke it. God damn it. It ain't no, it hit the ground. Like, nah. The weed to kill it. I was gonna go up to the Improv tonight. Usually on Monday night, I go up to the Improv, kick it with Corey Holcomb and that whole Boo Capone, Craig, everybody. We usually kick it on Monday nights at the Improv, cracking jokes. But I wanted to talk to y'all instead. Yes, Peter is definitely a Zippo lighter. Yeah, Quan, these Twitter streets are hot drama. See the lighter? These Twitter streets are hot drama right now. Like, what's going on in the world? But it all ties into what we talk tonight's theme. I'm going to lay out a story. Not a story. I'm going to lay out from my perception, how this all works. And then I'm going to take some of y'all questions and talk to y'all. All right? Yeah, but hit the like button. So, yeah, in these Twitter streets, we got, and I haven't been listening to all of it. I just saw, like, right before I came live, Tariq uploaded his video from one of the lives earlier, and I got about 5 minutes of it. But I'll say this. Just being an independent thinker, somebody who watches from a distance and observes, I generally do my best not to take sides. But Tariq's been pretty on point about the people he kind of go at. But this isn't about Tariq. This isn't about him. This isn't about any individual. This is about how people create, whether done by the industry, usually by how messiahs are created. Messiahs and Judas and the Messiah are both creations of our own minds. See, religion got motherfuckers thinking that the savior and the devil is an external thing, somebody that's coming to get you. And so since religion and society teaches it from that point of view, they can then use individuals to play the Jesus role versus the Messiah role. I mean, a Judas role, or the Messiah role versus the Judas role. When in fact, The Messiah and the Judas is you. You here to save yourself, and the only thing that can stop you from saving yourself is you betraying yourself. That's Judas and the Messiah. Now let's get into it. He said, shout out to Precious and Kamir on GP. Yeah, shouts out to them too on GP also. I love Precious and Kamir. Shouts out to them too. Well, Judas and the Messiah are creations in your own mind. And how it plays out in public, in basketball, is, you notice when you get people talking about basketball, I made some comments today on basketball. Generally, I don't talk as much about basketball on social media as I used to because grown-ass men get in their feelings. Especially all coming through. Especially if you're talking about LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Those two brothers seem to get grown-ass men all in they feelings. You know? Men get in their feelings when either LeBron, Ramon James, or Kevin Durant comes up as a topic. And this is usually because most of these dudes have a love affair with LeBron James because he's been marketed as your Messiah. And I've said this before for people who watch the show for a while, but I'll say it again for those who may not have been around when I've said this. For those of you who have heard me break this down, bear with me. But remember when LeBron James first came to the NBA? How did they market him? King James, right? They had a big billboard with him grabbing the baby powder, and I'm using it, that billboard is in the background of the thumbnail. And that's that picture of LeBron James grabbing chalk, throwing it in the air, and leaving his arms out like a cross. Head, arms out, body, looks like a cross. They gave him the nickname King. His last name naturally is James. King James, Bible, word association, connection. You've all played the game Pictionary. Word association is real. We associate words with things. We associate words with things. King James, holy book. Oh, King James playing basketball. He must be holy. Then they had the TV commercials when he was a rookie and in his first few years where he busts through the doors of the church. The choir is singing and praising and singing. And he's running down the aisle of the church, passing a basketball to members of the church. Ask yourself, why is a nigga throwing a basketball around in church? My mama would have socked me upside my head if I had a basketball in church. Your mama would have done the same thing. But what he's doing is, not him, this isn't LeBron, this isn't what LeBron is doing. This is what Nike is doing. This is what the NBA is doing. David Stern at the time, Adam Silver now. This is what Gatorade is doing. This isn't what LeBron is just playing a role, all right? LeBron James is a role. He's a figurehead. Before LeBron James, the person who had that role was Michael Jordan. They created a godlike person for the people and the men to worship and adore. And constant imagery. LeBron James, King James Bible, church, crown on his head. LeBron James, they're giving you a Messiah, somebody to worship and adore. But for every Messiah has to be an Antichrist. And for the old Comedics, it was Set. When the Tsar came around, Set was the devil. And the Bible is Jesus versus the devil. Every story, this whole drama, You have to have a God and you have to have an anti-God. You got to have, that's the way marketing works. That's the way they pitch life to us. So in the NBA, the Antichrist is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant didn't ask to be the Antichrist. Just like LeBron James didn't ask to be king. They both were placed into their positions by the people who write their checks. That's one thing you sorry ass niggas who worship these dudes gotta understand. And when I be on Facebook or on Instagram trolling LeBron fans, I do it for fun, because when I see people emotionally react, I see I'm dealing with an adult who hasn't learned these simple things yet about life. So I'm not gonna be compassionate about you. I'm gonna have fun. I'm being compassionate now, but when I feel like being an asshole, I have fun with you kind of niggas. Cause it's like throwing a ball of yarn out there to a kitty cat. Ooh, look at the cat play. Ooh, he's defending LeBron James with all of his might. Ooh, look at the cat play with the ball of yarn. That's what it's like when I be saying certain shit on Instagram, and grown ass men getting their feelings. Yeah, good versus evil. What's up, Star? So they create this, and you can essentially see LeBron James and Kevin Durant do the same things, but you're going to get totally different responses from the fan base. LeBron leaves, creates a super team, and no matter how much you sissy ass niggas try to say what didn't happen, your words don't count. I look at what happened, not your lame ass explanation excuse for what happened. LeBron James left his kingdom, went to Dwayne Wade, and brought in Chris Bosh. Dwayne Wade was clearly the second greatest shooting guard in the league at the time, third greatest shooting guard of all time. He was up there with Kobe. As far as ability, you had Chris Bosh, who at that time in his career had surpassed Tim Duncan. He really surpassed Dirk Nowitzki. He surpassed that whole Rasheed Wallace, that whole era of power forwards. Chris Bosh in 2011 was at that time was that guy. And you surround him with great role players who are great no matter where they go. Shane Battier, Mike Miller. These guys are gonna be, no matter where they go, they're gonna hit open shots and spread the floor. You know, and you see LeBron James make that move. So a few years later, Kevin Durant makes a move, but instead of assembling a super team, he goes to a really good team that was already together. Tomato. Super team. Who cared? Like, both, to me personally, both moves are weak as hell. But because the men of today got caught up in the Asarian drama that is sports, the Judas versus Messiah creation of your own mind that's canvassed onto our entertainment, instead of just watching basketball and having a good time and saying, hey, my favorite player beat your favorite player, like we used to do back in the day. My favorite player kicked your favorite player's ass. We talk a little shit and then go back to talking about whatever else we was talking about. That's how it used to be before these ESPN first takes and whatever the fuck, Skip and Stu, where the fuck that show is, Shannon and Sharp. I don't know what the fuck that show is called. But before them shows, when ESPN only had like weightlifting contests and on in the middle of the daytime, none of these sorry ass shows, men just talked about the game and went back in their fucking business. Nowadays, since ESPN keeps this shit in front of your face all day, and they have about 38 different men calling one man King James, and then the other guy who they don't like as much, everything they do, they're going to nitpick at him, and they basically turn him into a demigod. They turn Kevin Durant into the Antichrist, into Satan, into Lucifer, or whatever. When at the end of the day, both LeBron James and Kevin Durant, they're just great basketball players. We don't know how either of them are off the court. We don't know, because all we know is what they put on camera. And when you see what's on camera is very little of a person's life. So you got grown-ass men running around thinking that they think they just know that LeBron James is the greatest husband, father, humanitarian of all time. And Kevin Durant is just an emotional hater. When at the end of the day, your black ass don't know either side. You don't know shit. But you bought into the hype of the Judas versus the Messiah. You got your favorite, and since you've taken on the association of you and this other grown-ass man, since you've taken that on, since you personalized it, that makes the other guy who's a threat to your guy's legacy and play on the court, that makes him the Antichrist. So you pick sides and you don't see the game that's being played. I was talking basketball today on Facebook with somebody, and they just made up all kind of shit. I'm like, you do see when LeBron and KD go head up, KD be working that and be waxing the fuck out of LeBron James. You look in the finals 2 years in a row, Game 3 of the finals, same thing happened. 2 years in a row. This nigga LeBron, when it came time to end of the games, this nigga KD was looking for LeBron. This nigga LeBron was switching off, making motherfucking George Hill guard Kevin Durant because he didn't want to. And then when he did guard Kevin Durant, he's sagging off of him so much because he's scared of Kevin Durant going by him. Kevin Durant coming down in Cleveland, whack, from 35 feet in your eye. Niggas miss all that shit that happened on the court and then be like, well, he's still the king. What does that tell you? They're not even watching the game. They so caught up in the Judas versus the Messiah story, they missed the game. And then they come and tell you about the stats at the end of the game. Not knowing, fucking idiots, numbers don't tell stories. The story tells a story. The numbers are there to support the story, not tell the story. Anytime someone uses numbers to tell a story, I don't care if you're talking about politics, business, basketball, anything. If numbers are being used to tell the story, then you've already lost. Look at this shit. Look at this monkeypox shit. They trying to make us look at the whoopty whamps. This little vids 9-1s that we've been going through the last 2 or 3 years. They threw all these numbers in your face. Lockdowns, shutdowns, all this shit. Numbers. Meanwhile, ain't nobody caught the flu in 3 years. And nobody asked a question. Why? Judas and the Messiah. Judas is you, your thoughts, your immune system. The Messiah is what the news was saying and the medicines that they created. They had to tell you everything that you knew leading up to this moment, you must now forget. That's what happened. Forget that before this thing came out, vaccines, I didn't say the V word, I said vaccines, quote unquote. Vaccines used to take 15 to 25 years to come to market. And most vaccines failed during clinical trials, most of the time in the first 5 years. And now they got to come up with this new one. So they had to find a way to make you forget all that shit that you've been hearing about your whole life, about vaccines taking 15 to 25 years to come to market. So they had to create a Judas and a Messiah. The Judas is fake news. Louis Farrakhan, ooh, he lies. Don't trust your immune system. Don't listen to those bots on Twitter. Those are the Judas. They're not telling you what's right. Listen to Dr. Fauci. He's the Messiah. Science. And there's nothing. They kept saying science is the Messiah, but anybody with half a brain know that science, the only thing that's guaranteed in science is a scientific law. They weren't coming to you with scientific law. They were coming to you with theories. So the scientific method itself says question. Science demands that you question until the questions can all come back to one consensus answer, which makes it a law. Until something becomes a law, you question everything. But the media had to be the Messiah. Joe Biden's going to come save this because Trump didn't do good enough. Messiah. They get you caught up in these Judases and these Messiahs, and you don't pay attention to the story. Just like in basketball, you get caught up in these personalities, you miss the whole game. Just like in life in general. You know, they did the same thing with us on the civil rights movement in the 60s. King versus X. And they still do it. Which one you going with, King or X? Well, I'm more of a... You listen to 9 out of 10 niggas talk, they gonna say that they Malcolm. Listen to these niggas talk. 9 out of... If they talk... It's like, instead of saying, okay, I take this from King, I take that from Malcolm, this part of King's philosophy I don't like, that part of Malcolm's philosophy I do like. Instead of watching the story and learning who both men were and who they stood for, you get caught up in Judas versus the Messiah. They make you niggas pick one or the other. And the people who picking one or the other, 9 out of 10 know neither. Let me say that one more time. Out of the people picking one or the other, 9 out of 10 of those people know neither. They just know the headlines. And they want to sound tough, so they say they're going to sound like Malcolm. But how you going to say you more like Malcolm, but you watch MSNBC and believe what they say? Malcolm told your dumb ass not to trust the liberals no more than you trust the conservatives, but you will vote blue no matter who, nigga, but you say, I'm more like Malcolm. No, you not, nigga. Same people want to diss King and talk about what King wasn't about. He preached this, and like, no. King preached his personal philosophy was not to use violence. And King had a reason for that. King's reasoning for not using violence was very clear. In his own words, King said that it's not reasonable to take up arms against the government because the Negro don't have enough arms to take up. But at the same time, if you feel you need to use guns as a defense, by all means, do what you need to do. That's just not my thing. King was a man that stood on his own principles about that. King was a man that after he met with Elijah Muhammad in 1966, he really started to see things for what it is. King was a man calling out people in the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership, whatever the fuck coalition he created. He was the one talking about how he couldn't trust his own organization no more. And how much he stood at odds against his own organization. People like Andrew Young and Jesse Jackson. King wasn't feeling them niggas. In his own words, King wasn't feeling them. But no one takes the time to find out because why? They caught up in the Judas versus the Messiah. One is good, one is bad. I'm going to throw all my eggs behind one, and I'm going to contrast that one to the other. And in the meantime, what? Don't know shit about neither. Do it in music. Who's your top 5? I swear, every time someone asks me that question, like I get a Jones in my bones to put my foot in your ass. I ain't got no goddamn top 5. Whoever the hell I feel like listening to right now is my top 5. Hell, depending on how I'm feeling, shit, my top 5 is gonna be Roy Ayers, followed by Ice Cube, followed by motherfucking the Blackbirds, followed by Earth and Fire, followed by motherfucking Teddy Pendergrass. I don't know how I'm feeling. I listen to music how I feel. I'm not gonna, because when you start having these top 5, you create a what? A Judas versus a Messiah. My top 5 is better than your top 5. And then you start getting into an argument. And at the end of the day, you end up making a devil out of a god. You can't have Tupac because Biggie was better. Okay, if Biggie was what you felt, that's cool. Why does Tupac have to be downed? Now, if you're talking on a musical level, I don't like the lyrics that Tupac or such and such had, and for that reason, I don't feel that person. That's one thing. We all have our preferences. There's nothing wrong to talk preferences, especially when you have reasons behind it. But people get in all-out, drag-out fights because when they deify one, they make the other one a fucking devil. And we see a little bit in these Twitter spaces, a lot of that going on. You know what I mean? People, they'll adapt a particular philosophy that they feel vibrates best with them, and that's cool. But if somebody else's philosophy is 90% the same, 93% the same, 97% the same, but 3% is different, it's different. Instead of saying, oh man, I'm not feeling that part, but I rock with you. You got people taking that little small part of the disagreement. We all agree on reparations, and that's what it matters the most, right? But they'll take something here, something there, and then make that as a reason why you got to throw the whole person away, you know? And then you got these other people who are new to having attention. They had, last Halloween, they had 267 followers. 170 of them were former co-workers and classmates from high school. and people at church. Only had 70 people following you that didn't know you from church or school or some shit. And now they got a couple thousand subscribers because, you know, they always get a chance to speak in somebody else's Twitter space. You see a lot of them, you know, and we talked about this before, you know, notoriety ain't for everybody. You're starting to see people flip. And then you see people that just because one person has a fair amount of influence, you want to start questioning every move that they make. Why? Because you're trying to make, you have some people on one hand trying to make a Messiah, and other people, because of that, creating a Judas. When at the end of the day, the only Judas and Messiah that exists is a Judas and Messiah in your own mind. It's the only Judas and Messiah that exists. It's the one in your mind. Deal with your demons. Because your demons will stop you from ascending to your personal godship. And this ain't a religious talk. This is just some real shit. I don't give a fuck what your religion is. You are the Judas that stops your Messiah from rising. Who's going to win? That's your decision. But people don't want to have this conversation and look in the mirror. So they project it onto other people. And they'll see somebody with influence doing what they do, how they do it. And now they want to say, well, since you're doing that, why ain't you doing this? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell y'all right now. Like, I've never done bad for myself financially. I live in the middle of LA. You see motherfuckers is moving out of LA, nigga. I'm staying right here. And I live a fairly fun life. 2 concerts this past weekend. I'm be at the Hollywood Bowl on Wednesday in my box seats. Friday night going to go see George Clinton with my dad, nigga. Me and my dad going to see Parliament on the Funkadelic the final tour. I live a very fun life. And I'd be goddamn if I somebody just because I got a few thousand followers say, why are you over there having all that fun when the black community need new tennis shoes for the babies? Somebody tell me that, you know what I'm gonna tell you? I'm gonna say fuck you. That's what I'm gonna say. Fuck you. So I can imagine how cats who are really doing it, you know, who really got bread, and you got all these motherfuckers want to question what somebody else do with theirs. You look at my Instagram, shit, you gonna see me and my wife in wine country every couple months. Hell, we going back at the end of the month. Gonna be up in wine country, sipping on some good ass $50 bottles of wine, $120 bottles of wine. Yep. And we come home with a trunk full of wine every time we go to. I'd be goddamn if because I like coming online talking and doing my best to uplift black folks. I'd be goddamn if somebody's telling me, I see you buying all that wine, but what are you doing? Why ain't you go to the last rally? I was at a concert yesterday. I see after all them concerts, but it was a rally and you done missed the last 17 rallies. You ain't real. You know what I'm gonna say to that person? Fuck you. Because you're not about to play your Judas and Messiah story out on me. You have to deal with your demons the same way I gotta deal with mine. My head is fucked up just like everybody else's. I'm just trying my best to work it out. I'm fucked up too in the mind. All of us are in certain areas. I know I ain't got my shit, man. Nigga, I'm a king of club. I will flip moves on somebody so goddamn fast. I'll be feeling good. And then, nigga, I'll just be like, man, I ain't feeling this shit and just leave. Like, we'll be out somewhere. I'll be out, especially if I'm at a comedy club. I'll be out, socializing with everybody. And then my mood will change like right away. And I'll be like, man, fuck this shit. And I'll just leave. I may or may not say bye. You know, I'm fucked up too. So, if some nigga that got a studio apartment with a rent, and if you got motherfuckers living in cities where you could actually buy a house for like 300 grand, and they in their 40s, and all it costs is 300 grand for a house, and they can't afford one, and they want to see somebody else swimming in their swimming pool, playing with their kids on Twitter or whatever, or at Six Flags, where the fuck you do, to have fun, and they want to tell you why you shouldn't be doing what you do. Yet they live in a city where you can still get a house in a decent neighborhood for only 300 grand, and they can't afford one. And I'm not dissing the people who can. This isn't a diss at all, because most of the people who are in that situation where they can't afford a house of 300 grand, you know what they're doing? They're trying to figure out a way to afford that house. That's a lot of y'all. That's a lot of the people. But I'm not going to, disregard those people. I'm not going to ignore the fact that the main people that got something to say about what somebody else is doing are the ones who are in these situations where they living in a goddamn, You live in a city where you can still get a one-bedroom apartment for only $500 a month or $700 a month. That's all you got to pay for a one-bedroom apartment. And you late 8 out of 12 months a year, you late on your rent. Those are the ones that don't want to look in the mirror and play out their Judas and Messiah story. And the truth is, you're your own Judas. You're getting it in your own way. You really could save yourself, but you don't see yourself as powerful enough to save yourself. You see yourself as weak because of your conditioning. You're probably raised in an environment of other weak people who didn't take control of their situation. And so the people who don't take control of their situations are the first ones to play out their Judas and Messiah story on other people, especially those they perceive as doing well. Like, look what's going on with the whole Khalees and Beyonce thing. How many people have you seen out here talking about, how many Beyonce fans you seen talking about, man, Beyonce, she a queen. Khalees ain't nobody. Like, who are you to say that somebody, just because they're making a move in public you don't like, who are you to say that they nobody and they need to bow down? Bow down to who? I bet not see any of you niggas in this chat room bowing down to any person, male or female. You better walk up to that motherfucker you idolize with your chin up, knowing your worth, and understand that when you see the God in them, you're looking at the God in yourself. When you understand it on that level, everybody's a God. Like, I don't look at people who are stars differently than people who aren't. And I know a whole lot of stars. A through Z list. They're people. But what do you see online? People projecting their own Judas and Messiah story out on the people that they see on TV. Don't let the external Judas and Messiah story mess up your game internally, with your family, with your children, with your parents, co-workers. Pay attention to your fuck-ups, because we all fucked up, man. I know I am, goddammit. Well, I ain't gonna speak for y'all. I know I'm fucked up. My head be getting shit twisted sometimes, man. I be 180 degrees wrong. You dig? But the only way you're going to address that, the only way you're going to deal with that, is to address your own Judas and Messiah, the one inside your mind. That thing, that first jolt, when you know how it is, y'all know how it is. What's up, Ebony, in the chat room? Y'all know how it is. When you get a new idea, a new thing, you be excited, don't you? You get a drop in for something, and you be like, man, if I do this, I'm a woompty wamp, and I'm a woompty wamp, and I'm a boomty bamp. And you know you can get it done. Just something inherently inside of you says it can be done. And you feel good. You get that rush. That's the Messiah. Giving you an internal message to save yourself. And how to save yourself. Boom. I did. Apply for that job that you didn't think. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm applying for that job. And then what happens? Judas. Man, I want that job, but shit. The last 4 people they hired was Mexicans. Man, oh man, and I'm gonna have to work with such and such. And I don't know, man. Then you start making up excuses as to why you should apply for that job. That's your own Judas. Or you'll get a business idea. And then you'll be like, man, I ain't gonna be able to pay this, or I'm not gonna be able to do this, I'm not gonna be able to do that. Instead of knowing the fact that anytime God gives you, or the universe, or the fuck you call it, gives you an idea, it's also gonna give you a way to make it happen. Man, on a shoestring budget this year, nigga, I done created my Incense and Ashtrays publication. I done rebranded the Hotepish shop and got that out. Done went crazy with t-shirt ideas, nigga. I done created a black music tree, 400 years of music on one tree. A nigga done wrote a book on a shoe motherfucking string budget. And that's not including if I do everything else that I have to do. You get the ideas. It's your job, the minute that idea drops in, do everything in your power to get it done through completion. And that's your Messiah. My Messiah was when I couldn't stand my job back in 2017, 2018. We were really stressed out, fucked up in the head. I told y'all that last job fucked my head up. You don't know what it's like to go see a client and the kid crying when you get there, and it's a little 11-year-old boy, and he crying, and you like, what happened? I'm sorry, this kid was 9 at the time. This kid came home happy that he had got a good grade, and when he walked in his door, he had to go straight up the steps. And when he got to the steps, the mom put her foot out and kicked him back down the steps and said, I don't give a fuck about your grades, you little boy. Fuck you and them grades. Why didn't you clean up your room before you left? And now here I come, first one on the scene, and I see a little boy breaking down crying, and he coming to me because he can't trust his mom emotionally. That's the background I come from. That boy got 9 years too. I ended up seeing his mom like a few years later, and I looked him up online. That boy got 9 years in prison for attempted robbery. But I saw that coming. I saw the environment he was in. But anyway, I said that to say, that was the environment of the job that I worked in. And I was seeing cases like this every day. So my Messiah was an idea. Okay, let me take the best parts of this job and create a company doing that. I like doing IEP, and this is how it happened. And some of y'all may have heard this story before. If you have, bear with me. If you haven't, just a quick story. It's this: when I was in college, or just out of college, I used to party at UCLA. I graduated from Cal State Northridge, but I partied at UCLA because I was cool with the whole basketball team when those were just my guys. When they went to the NCAA finals in 2006, those was my cats. And so I used to party with them niggas all the time. And some of them still be like J. Rube. He be in this chat room sometime. He was on that squad. Anyway, when I was up there partying all the time, I met this Asian chick. She was the homie, but I would see her all the time at these parties. It would be like, I remember like when they would have like those UCLA Bruin basketball team cocktail parties. They had a lot of those. These niggas is in college and underage, but why all them parties always have open bar. And at those parties, you see Bill Walton, all the UCLA legends. Bill Walton. I met John Carlos there. He didn't even go to UCLA, but I met him there. I met a lot of them old people. Jamal Silk Wilkes. I can't even name all the people I met there. Well, anyway, me and this Asian chick became real cool. But I left, she graduated, I finished school. We went our separate ways. We were kind of loosely keeping contact on Facebook, but not really. So fast forward to 2016, 17, I'm driving Uber. And because that job, when I worked all them years at that job didn't pay shit. But it was a kind of job that gave me my freedom. I would see 2 clients a day, then have the rest of the day to myself. I'll go see a client at 9 in the morning, see another client at 10 in the morning, and I'd be done working the rest of the day. So I would drive Uber also when I got off the clock. So I did an Uber, and I see this name. I see it. That name is familiar. I pull up on an apartment, and that apartment is familiar because I've been over to her apartment before. And she was like, yeah, I see you work with kids. She was like, you do IEPs? I said, yeah, I do IEPs all the time. She was like, that's a very lucrative. That's it's not lucrative. Take that back, it's not lucrative. She's like, but that there's money in that field. I was like, huh? I'm over here getting paid such and such an hour. Fuck you. She was like, yeah, there's people charging $1,500 an IEP. I'm like, oh, hell no, for real? Mind you, at this point, I had been doing IEPs for 6-7 years. For those of you who don't know who IEP is, a special education, independent education plan. Individualized education plan, I'm sorry. And I'm like, hold on. They get paid what? Yeah, and she put me up on game. And she told me all about the industry, what books to buy, where to look. And that was my Messiah. Not her, the idea. So what I did was I built upon that. I didn't move right away, but every month, every couple months, I was doing something to build that company. And I ended up naming it Breakthrough Advocacy Services. I started doing something to build it. So when time came in 2019, when my stress levels had gotten far too high and I had to lead a job, I had a savior. And the savior was the company that I built off of an idea given to me through a random occurrence and somebody I'm really cool with. And it just was one of those things. People come across, that's why I always say, like, yes, I'm B1. Yes, I'm black first. But when it comes to information, I'm taking information from anybody. I'm taking information from any and everybody. If it's something that I can use, nigga, give me that. So what would have been my Judas? Had I let my Judas win, like I still do in certain areas of my life. I'm not acting like I'm perfect. I still have areas of my life where my Judas wins. A lot of areas where Judas wins. But that was one area the Messiah won. So when a couple years later come and I get too stressed out and I can't go back to that job, I had a savior. That's how the Judas and Messiah story works. And it's the people who don't listen to their Messiah, who always succumb to their Judas, that are the biggest haters and detractors to the people who ascend to their own Messiah. You dig what I'm saying? Judas and the Messiah. Which one you gonna listen to? And that's a story that you never done. That's a drama that you never done playing out. You get good at being your Messiah in certain areas of your life. You save yourself. You do a good job. You pat yourself on the back. Take the pictures on Instagram and show everybody, hey, look at me. I listen to my Messiah. And then you have other areas of your life where Judas is winning. And the powers that are in control of the images that we see, they prey upon that and they play upon that in all areas of activity, of entertainment. They do it in politics. Republicans and Democrats. One is your Judah, the other is your Judas, the other one is your Messiah. For a lot of Negroes, it's the Democrats. Judas is the Democrats. That's the Messiah. The Republicans are Judases. For the white Christians, the Republicans are the Messiah, and the Democrats are Judas. You notice the most hardcore on either side are the religious faction. Think about black people. It's mostly black people in here. Press the number one if the majority of people that are still pro-Democrat also still go to church. Or if they don't go to church, they always talking that church shit. Because half the people that talk that church shit don't even go. But they the ones that always want to preach, tell you some quote of scripture. Press number one if the majority of your friends or people that you know that are blue no matter who, they also have ties to the church. You see the connection? Judas versus the Messiah. And the same thing. Look at the people, look at these conservatives, these same conservatives, when Bush 1 was in office, when Reagan was in office, especially when Clinton was in office. I remember I was in high school. The Clinton years covered middle school and high school for me. And that first year of college. Those are the Clinton years. Middle school and high school. And first semester of college. First year. Yeah, because the election was November 2000. Yeah. November 2000, I spent a whole year in college. So Clinton was middle school through first year of college for me. And those are the years that you're paying attention most if you're taking the school route. I'm taking a bunch of political science classes, so I'm studying these years. Told you, I'll say right by a goddamn airport. They study in these years and then into those Bush years. I'm studying politics very closely those years. And I'm seeing how during the Clinton years, it's the Christian right that are basically impeaching him for getting his dick sucked in the Oval Office. And it was all about morals. Morals this, morals that. And then when Bush got in office, yeah, he was a drunkard, but morals this and morals that. Christian, Jesus, people who listen to Jerry Falwell and the TBN. How many of y'all used to watch, how many of y'all used to be there with your mama when she was watching TBN back in the 90s? Did y'all have TBN in the South? Trinity Broadcasting Network? And it was here in LA, it was Channel 40. And they played Christian TV all goddamn day and night. You used to have goddamn Candy Staten singing and all that. Yeah, y'all remember the Christian? That Christian shit? We used to watch that. There used to be this one white dude that used to sing, and his fro was always perfect. What was his name? It was this one white dude that used to come on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, and he had like a white boy, great fro. But I used to look real close to the TV screen. His fro would be perfect every time. I forgot his name. Yeah, I remember Tammy Faye. But you got to see how full of shit they were, because you saw Bush. When Bush, I still say Bush is the worst president of this century. Trump ain't got shit on Bush. Biden is approaching Bush. But still, Bush is the worst president I've ever seen. This motherfucker, that response to 9/11, all them programs, all that money. See, Bush is the biggest gangster. That big ass recovery after 9/11, and all that money went to a few people on top. The United States was in position to have massive wealth spread around to the people in 2001. And Bush came in and said, nope, give me that. Started them wars. And I saw them Christian right people, right wingers. Because mind you, when I was a kid, I was in church. So we're talking about the 90s, early 2000s. This is the DwannBrown that still believes in Christianity, heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean heavier than the planet Jupiter, nigga. The 90s, like 2000, 2001, man, I was all the way on my Jesus shit back then. I was real heavy on my Jesus shit back then, man. Like, man, people like, Jesus is the motherfucking reason for the motherfucking season, you dig? I'm playing the drums at church, you know, I'm holy than a motherfucker these years. But I'm watching the moves that Bush makes, and I'm seeing the Christian right just be like, so what? He's a Christian. And that's what got me really questioning Christianity. Like, how can these people, I told y'all, nigga, I was brainwashed at the time. I thought we was all Jesus cheering in the 90s. I really did. I was like, man, we all Jesus cheering. And I knew that racism existed. And I always, it didn't stop me from ducking the racism. I would still confront racism and talk about it. My mom started calling me the little militant when I was 8. But I thought that, you know, Jesus was going to be there to help back in the 90s. I thought Jesus would help me with this. I'm not, at the time, this before the internet. And I ain't got no white friends. I went to a school in a white neighborhood, but it was all black kids. Override Middle School in Westchester High. White neighborhoods, but like 98% black school, 95% black. So in this era of my life, I'm thinking that, man, Jesus is gonna help. Jesus. I'm playing the drums in church. Oh, that song? We're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the field. What was that song? Was that Fred Hammond? We blessed when we, man, blessed. Man, I was on that shit, boy. Kurt Franklin, do you want a revolution? Silver and gold. And then I woke up one day and was like, goddamn, that's really all the niggas got. They got all of Jesus. And that whole neighborhood where my church was at, nigga, they done knocked down my old church, and that shit's about a goddamn apartment building now. I ain't gonna lie like I was always right. Nah, I didn't grow up Baptist. I grew up, it's non-denominational, Word of Faith. It was where I went to Word of Faith. Y'all ever heard of Fred Price? I didn't go to Fred Price's church, but my church came out of Fred Price's church. And we would go to Fred Price's church every now and then, like when Claude Anderson came to LA. When Claude Anderson filmed them tapes that y'all be seeing in that church where they got like blue carpet, that's Fred Price's Faith Dome. When he opened up that Faith Dome, he gave Claude Anderson free space to push black labor, white wealth. So my church was in association with that church. And then he ended up having his own churches and shit. And it's funny too, Tariq talked about this. If you go and look up, it's like this one, for all you who watch Tariq's show, he talked about, and I talked about it on my show one time too, this one developer that's buying up West Adams here in LA, and he put up them nuisance laws on black businesses. I don't know if y'all remember the episode of Tariq's show when he talked about that. Well, if you go back and read that article, the land my church used to sit on is in that article. That was the same guy who bought the building for my old church. And what he did was he bought that church, and then the deal, he bought another church down the street, further up Adams, but in a way more inconvenient location, and he let them move there. But he bought my church's old church. Now you see, my church was called Zoe Christian Fellowship. Now you see on Adams, It's called the Zoe Lofts. Like, damn, this nigga left the name of the church. But instead of Christian Center, nigga, now it's Lofts. White boys are not creative. So when people drive up, they're gonna be like, what happened to the Zoe? Well, it's a loft now, bitch. But I was caught up in that because I believed in the Judas and the Messiah. I thought the Judas and the Messiah was something outside of me. But those years taught me a lot about Christianity. When I saw, because every now and again, my church would go out to the Crystal Cathedral. I know y'all know who, he ended up dying in disgrace, but Reverend Schuler, he used to always be like on ABC Sunday morning for like all through the 80s and 90s. They would broadcast like Reverend Schuler's ministries at the Crystal Cathedral in Orange County. I don't know if y'all remember that. For those of you niggas that was into church in the 80s and the 90s. We used to go out to that church sometime for like they Easter or Christmas little plays and shit. So I didn't know why. I thought white Christians at that time in my life, in my teenage years, I thought white Christians were better than regular white people. I knew white people wasn't shit, but I thought the white Christians were cool. Because again, I watched TBN with the white dude with the perfect afro that sang. And then, I started at the same time, I noticed when Fred Price, when he started bringing in, we started talking about racism in the church, they kicked his black ass off TBN. I think he got one episode off. Then it was like, because I don't know if y'all remember that when Fred Price used to come on TV, he always had that same bullshit ass song. Evidence, doom, 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 evidence. Do you love evidence? Evidence, doom, 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 doom. Y'all remember that? That was the Fred Price theme song. Evidence, doom, 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 doom. So, see, Vess, you fell for that. Like, I was into that. I really was. I was into that because Christianity teaches you your savior, and your demon is outside of you through the story of Jesus and the devil. That story gets reinforced through your entertainment. If you watch wrestling, antagonists and protagonists. If you watch sports, the blue team versus the red team. Everything is competition. Look at the game shows. Just pay attention to the game shows. It's Family Feud. It's competition. It's one or the other. Good, bad. When really there's only positive and negative. And positive and negative don't have a judgment. They just are. You need a positive and a negative charge to start a battery. There should be no judgment. Good and bad is a judgment. Positive and negative just is. In cardology, that's why you have red sweets and black sweets. That signifies the yin and the yang, the positive and negative. 2 red, 2 black. Everything, you have the law of polarity is real. The law of opposites, male and female. Everything has a masculine and feminine component to it. Everything in nature. Male plants and female plants. Everything has a masculine and feminine principle. Your plug is masculine. Your socket is feminine. 2 plugs can't turn on the light, but a masculine and feminine principle can. Just notice that when you pay attention to life, everything has a masculine and feminine. You change your tires. You have the holes for the rim, and you have the bolts and the bolts and the nuts, literally nuts that screw over the hole that keeps your tire in place. Intake, outtake, plumbing systems have an in and an out. Electricity, atoms, everything. And that's how we should look at life. If you're gonna get anything out of life, you just gotta see it for what it is. Positive, negative, yin and yang. They're both lessons to be learned. But they turn this shit and turn the yin and yang philosophy, the positive and negative philosophy, they turn that into Judas and the Messiah. One is your savior, the other one's gonna kill you. When really they're just lessons to be learned. LeBron James had his way of dealing with free agency, of leaving and controlling his destiny. Durant had his. Both moved, from my perception, with cowardice. It's like, nigga, I can see leaving your squad, but nigga, just go somewhere else and build and play with another star and some role players and play it out. You don't need all the good niggas on your team, nigga. Shit, I thought both moves were weak. But most basketball fans couldn't be objective about the moves because they were caught up in the Judas and the Messiah. LeBron James is the Messiah, so Kevin Durant must be the Judas. Kevin Durant asked for a trade today, and 90% of nigga Twitter, he's not being loyal. But then the same niggas that'll be like, LeBron leave a team. You don't need to be loyal to these teams. Double speaking like a motherfucker. But don't realize it because they using these niggas as their messiahs. Who's the Rev X? Yeah, so that's basically what I was talking about. What y'all talking about in the chat room? You missed basically everything. Boom. I laid it all out for 67 minutes. And you came in 30 seconds after I ended a 67-minute build on Judas and the Messiah. How these people, how celebrities are used as either your savior or your devil. No, Katie's not trying to see how much players that she have. No, you gotta follow the story with Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant came to New Jersey, you know, he had Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, Jared Allen. Yeah, you know, young Jared Allen. You had a fairly balanced squad. He knew he was gonna miss the season, and you know, superstars need. Here's what a superstar needs to win. You need another 2.5 players that can get their own shot, meaning at least another superstar, at least one other star or superstar. In today's NBA, you need at least one other superstar. And you need somebody that can come off the bench and get their own back shot. And you need at least 3 knockdown shooters who shoot at a higher percentage, 35% and higher from 3. That's what you need, any superstar. That's why Miami works so well, because Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, these people made open threes at a high clip, so it kept the floor spread for the Heat. You know, you need that. And I don't care how many stars you have, if you don't have at least 3 shooters, 2 on the court at all times, that can shoot at a very high percentage from behind the three-point line, you won't have the floor spacing for your stars to be stars. Because NBA defenses are too sophisticated, especially with today's zone-style defense. They'll just put you basically shade two help defenders to your side of the court if you don't have shooters. So that's why Kevin Durant couldn't get the space to get shots during the playoffs against Boston, was because every time Kevin Durant likes to catch the ball at free throw line extended somewhere around the elbow and operate. But without shooters on the court, they can now sag in 1, 2, sometimes 3 players to your side of the court. So the minute you get the ball, you have 2 on you. And if you put the ball on the ground, now you have 3 on you. And you have 2 options. Either rise up and take a contested shot with 2 or 3 defenders on you, or kick it out to a shooter that can't throw a pea in the ocean. What's going to happen? Which is why Oklahoma City lost to Golden State that year. They had Andre Roberson in the corner. If Andre Roberson, who didn't even want to, he got to the point by the time Game 3 came, he wasn't even taking shots. But if you have Kyle Korver in that same corner, that's a bucket every time. That's the delicate balance of basketball. And Kevin Durant was promised shooting. And in the 3 years he's been there, they've actually lost shooters. This past offseason, they didn't pick up any quality knockdown shooters. They didn't draft any quality knockdown shooters. And Steve Nash is a coach that doesn't run any kind of a system. So another reason why Kevin Durant was bogged down is because Steve Nash doesn't have a system that moves off the ball that gets him action to where he can curl off the elbow screen, which is what made him so successful in Golden State. Steve Kerr always ran action to Kevin Durant off of a curl, off of an elbow curl, and he was able to catch the ball and go right up, because Kevin Durant from 17 feet, that's money. He's going to probably, if he gets that shot, he's probably going to hit that shot at a 55%, 60% clip. And if he's hot, a 90% clip. But Kevin Durant, on the worst of his days, is that elbow curl, he's going to shoot that at 60% for a game, every game. But Steve Nash never figured out a way to get the ball to Kevin Durant with that kind of action. And then on top of that, Kyrie Irving demanded a trade because Kyrie Irving wanted an extension. And if Kevin Durant told the owner, if you guys sign Kyrie for the long haul, I'm going to stay for the long haul. Get the Kyrie Irving deal done. But what did they do in New Jersey? They tried to give Kyrie Irving a nigga contract, basically saying, okay, you can only get this money if you play a certain amount of games. And Kyrie Irving's like, fuck you. You got players around the league that be cats like Anthony Davis. You got these cats that, like Kawhi Leonard, they could miss 2/3 of the fucking season. They getting all they goddamn money. I ain't gonna sign that shit. So New Jersey tried to play Kyrie on the contract. Kyrie refused to sign, and Kyrie informed them that he'll be leaving at the end of next offseason. So since there's no real future for New Jersey, they still don't have shooting. They still have bad coaching. Kevin Durant asked for a trade. And that's just business. And that's all it is with Kevin Durant. But ESPN and Fox Sports sells us the story in a Judas versus the Messiah sort of way. So they're going to leak the story, and they're always going to make the player look bad, especially if the player is the person that they've been marketing as Judas this whole time. They're going to put extras on it. At the end of the day, all you got to do is pay attention. Look at what New Jersey had. The Brooklyn had James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant on the same team. And they fucked that off. How does that happen? That's all general manager. Steve Nash has Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And he can't find a way to devise an offense that gets Kevin Durant easy shots and puts Kyrie Irving into position to catch and shoot off the attention that Kevin Durant's going to draw. I got about 12 plays I had when I worked with my kids that could have worked in that offense. It's not that hard to devise an offense that's going to get Kevin Durant. Really, you don't even have to reinvent the wheel. All Steve Nash had to do was just watch film of how Golden State got Kevin Durant open and design your own version of that play that compensates for the personnel on the court. See, when I watch basketball, I put that shit on mute and listen to jazz, and I watch that shit with my own eyes because I know how to create a game plan for an offense and a defense. So I know how to look at a game and break down what the game plan is, because for a long time when I coach, that's partially what I did. You got to review tape and see what other teams are running. So when I watch basketball, that's how I watch. I don't get into these little cake-ass stories about one player not liking the other player. He didn't shake his hand and he's mad because he demanded a trade. I don't get into that. New Jersey, I keep calling them New Jersey because I still think they're the New Jersey Nets. I'm old school basketball. To me, they still New Jersey. They ain't Brooklyn. I'm still thinking them blue and gray Jason Kidd jerseys and them white, red, and blue Kerry Kittles jerseys, nigga. And Derek Coleman jerseys. But you miss the story because they preach it in the Judas and the Messiah, Kevin Durant versus LeBron James. Instead of saying both of them are great and they get their offense through different means, they got to make you love one and hate the other. Because God be damned if they make two niggas that are great. They don't do that shit in baseball. All them white pitchers get to be great in baseball. And that's what made me initially stop watching sports TV about 12 years ago. I'm like, man, every time I watch basketball, it's Kobe versus T-Mac. It's Vince Carter versus Paul. But when I watch baseball, they don't ever say Clayton Kershaw or Adam Wainwright. No, it's like Kershaw's great, and so is Adam Wainwright. And I would notice that shit. Roger Clemens is great, and so is Randy Johnson. And so is Nolan Ryan. And so is every white pitcher you can think of. They all great. All of them. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady won more Super Bowls, but boy, that Peyton Manning's great too. You don't see people shit on Peyton Manning to praise Tom Brady. They'll say Tom Brady's better. Oh, or they'll say Peyton Manning's better. Oh, that boy, it's still something complimentary to say about Tom Brady. Oh, but when it gets to you niggas, shit. They got niggas fighting over their own teammates. Man, by the time LeBron got to Miami, Dwayne Wade was old and he was injured. Huh? You mean during the finals, this motherfucker was catching, this nigga's head was at the rim when he's dunking. He wasn't injured. He was fine. But you want to pit. You want to just shit on Dwayne Wade to make your guy look better. That's because how it's marketed. Judas versus the Messiah. And it can only be one Messiah. Because that's what your fucking Bible told you. Your Bible told you that. It can only be one Messiah. So that's what you believe. Whether you're in church or not. You notice they'll never say that white players are overpaid? Somebody brought up Keith Van Horn, one of the worst contracts in NBA history. They act like that contract never existed. You notice that? Keith Van Horn The greatest thing he ever did in basketball was being the guy drafted behind Tim Duncan. Keith Van Horn, they gave him $100 million. He wasn't shit before he got that deal. They still gave it to him anyway. Keith Van Horn wasn't shit. White boys, I remember the Lakers gave Luke Walton $49 million. How the fuck did Luke Walton get $49 million? Jokic is about to get the super match. And and mark my words, man. It's gonna come down to Jokic and Embiid and Luke, probably Luka for MVP. They pushing this non-FBA narrative real heavy through sports. Sports is used to push agendas. Remember that. And they trying to erase you niggas. That's why Giannis and all these immigrant niggas get the spotlight, these MVPs. That's what they pushing. Yeah, NBA's hell divisive. Yeah, Chandler Parsons' deal was trash. Gordon Hayward's deal was trash. He was hurt, and then when he did come in, when Gordon Hayward did come back from his injury, he couldn't even crack the starting lineup. They don't bring up his deal. No, we don't need our own leagues. We got a lot of stuff to do before we care about, because getting our own league is a lot of work. Cube has his league, that's cool. Support Cube's league. But black people really got better things to do in sports, honestly. I'm just using the sports analogy because it can relate to a lot more people. But before sports, black people was inventing toilets and railroad crossings and inventing plastic, and we was on all kind of dope shit before sports. Since sports has become a thing, our greatest minds, our strongest boys are getting pushed off into a goddamn sport. So even if that sport was black owned, he's not developing his mind. Sports is just in our way. Sports is really in our way. You remember what happened? And right after the coronavirus hit, when all the sports knocked down, you see what happened? It took 3 or 4 weeks for sports to be off TV. For May of 2000 to be one of the crackingest months in history. May, June of 2020? Man, niggas was on the streets on cold like a motherfucker after just a couple weeks without sports. Then Lebron said, I want to play. I want to play. Ain't been not one goddamn uprising since the NBA came back. That's what I mean by sports is, like, we have kind of bigger fish to fry before we worry about creating our own sports leagues. Outside, like, because even Cube is going through hell. His big three ain't got nothing to fight and to contest with the NBA with. But he talked about how the NBA been hating on it. And get the merchandise. And book your readings. I'm about to take my ass back inside. And remember, to hit up Jayla, self-esteem queen. Hit up Jayla. I posted a video of Jayla with LaRussell. That shit was dope, Jayla. LaRussell put up had Jayla in the video. Lightthemood.com. Get them candles. Lightthemood.com. Get them candles. Use my product code WeedSmoke22. 40% off. All right. I'll holler at y'all.